Prop the Mic, presented by Props.cash. What's up, Dave? We're back, baby. It's the Big Friday pod for week 4, Sunday main slate. We've been researching and placing bets all week. Now it's time to share them with you all. We had a profitable little Thursday night football game last night. Let's see, we got 2 WNBA playoff games tonight that we already gave a bunch of picks out for, and I'm ready to roll into the weekend. How are you feeling, Dave?
Feeling pretty good. I spent probably 4 hours today digging water out of my basement. But you know what? Like, some people would see that as a negative. I see that as like a good omen for cashing a lot of tickets, because I already paid my dues. We're about to get the good side of it on our bets. So I love that.
Juju's coming back your way.
It's coming back my way.
All right.
Ready to go. All right. So we got a big slate of NFL this week, right?
Yes.
I think we got, what do we got? 9 games that we're going to cover here.
Yep.
Deep dive, and then we'll probably put a couple more picks out on X as well. But plenty of time. It's only Friday. We're going to get these out early so we can get the most value on the lines. And we recommend you guys do the same thing. Lock these in before they go up, because usually after today they start moving.
Yeah, Sunday morning, they could be very different from what we're discussing right now. So
exactly.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so let's start with the Rams at the Colts. Rams are 1-2 on the season. Colts are 2-1 on the season. This is an even game, and the total is a nice 46. 46 is relatively high at this point in the NFL season. So I like that point spread and total. What do you like here?
All right, so we always start with line play, looking at win rates in the trenches. So based on line play, we're looking at target unders in the Rams passing game. This was already a good matchup, and then the Rams had 2 linemen leave Monday's game against Cincinnati. He had starting left tackle Jackson go out in the second quarter. He couldn't come back. Starting right guard Joe Noteboom missed a couple series with a knee injury, and he was already battling a deep shoulder bruise. And if you were watching the game, as soon as Alaric Jackson, the left tackle, went out, Stafford just looked like garbage. In 26 pass blocking opportunities, his backup Zach Thomas allowed 5 QB pressures and 2 sacks. Wow. And now we have the Rams on one less day rest to adjust for all this. And also of note, I think, is that they played in Cincinnati, they flew back to LA, and then flew back to Indianapolis for this game. So I don't know. There's a lot of like red flags here for me. So let's look to fade Matt Stafford here. You want to bring up the prop screen?
It is coming.
All right. So Indy is tied for number 2 in sacks allowed to opposing quarterbacks. They've only allowed 1 completion of 30-plus yards so far this season. So on top of everything I said, the bad offensive line, I like the Matt Stafford under 257 and a half pass yards. This was at minus 120 on DK when I placed it. And you can see over in his last 5 of 12, only 5 of 12, 4 of 10. So nice spot here to fade Stafford.
What did you say you got the line at?
257 and a half.
Wow, you can get it for 262 and a half on FanDuel. See, that's a value we're talking about. FanDuel is 4 points higher than BetMGM, Caesars, and DraftKings. So
yeah, FanDuel lines come out much later than all the other ones. FanDuel was not out when I did my research on this game. So yeah. This is good to know. That's why props comes in handy here. We can see the value across the board. Also, real quick, I think an under on his long pass, 35 and a half, is also probably nice if you wanted to sprinkle that in. But I don't think we need to take too much time on that.
Yeah, I love looking at the line impact. I think it's an undervalued way of kind of approaching these bets, because it's kind of like 2 layers down, right? You're not actually betting on the line. You're betting on the quarterback, you're betting on the receiver, but it's huge. You see the impact when these critical guys are out.
Totally.
Quarterback doesn't have the same amount of time. So, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. What else do you like in this game?
All right, we're going to fade Puka here. Indianapolis, 7th fewest yards per reception, 4th fewest yards after catch, 8th fewest average yards on long receptions. He was at 74 and a half. What's he at? Did he change? Did he move?
Yeah, 73 and a half on DraftKings, 71 and a half on FanDuel.
Okay. All right. So he yesterday he was 74 and a half on DK. So the line's coming down. That goes along with what I'm saying right here to fade him. I just think this line's too high, and given this matchup and the bad offensive line, we can go to that. However, there is a nice matchup in terms of tight ends against Indianapolis. They are number 2 in yards per reception, number 1 in yards before catch, and number 1 in average long reception. So I know we're fading Stafford, we're fading Puka, but I think we can go over on Tyler Higbee here. Over 36 and a half yards is what it was, minus 115 on DK. He has nice targets, 3, 7, and 5 this season. He consistently plays over 90% of the snaps. And this is what really sold me here. He had 49 yards against Seattle. And I just gave you those stats. I just gave you those stats on Indy, on the Colts, where they were either number 1 or number 2. Seattle is conversely 1 or 2, whichever one Indy is not, Seattle is. So these are the 2 worst teams against tight ends. So I think we can go to Higbee here and take his over.
Yeah, I'm looking as of 3 hours ago. He just signed a 3-year extension of $27 million. So
I don't know if I like that or not.
Right, you feel like his motivation is gone.
That's what happens, man. I don't know if I like that as much anymore.
I don't know. I think tight ends just like to, catch the ball and get hit.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Okay. Who else? Who else do you have?
One other real quick, running backs. Indianapolis has the fewest yards per attempt to opposing running backs at only 2. So I think we could fade Kyren Williams here, under 58.5 rush yards. He's 0 for 13 in his career. But obviously that was looking back to last year when Cam Akers was a starter. But even if we just look at his last 3 games this season, when he had 10, 14, and 15 rush attempts, he's still gone under this line. So we're not high on the LA Rams this week.
Yeah, you're throwing shade at the hometown team there.
I know, man. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, they really didn't look that good last week, so I think that's a good play.
Yeah. All right. Next game.
All right. Next game. Oh, okay. Nothing on the Indy side, huh?
No.
All right. What are we going next? We're doing. Let's go with the from the Rams. We'll go to the 2 0-3 teams, the Vikings and the Panthers. That's great. Vikings at the Panthers. Panthers are getting 4.5 at home. Total is also 46. This one 46.5. What do you like here?
All right, this is like a very similar story to what I just told you about the Rams here. Based on line play, we can look to target overs in Minnesota's pass game. And now let's look at the Carolina side. They're without half of their defensive starters. Starting safety Xavier Woods out. Corner J.C. Horn out. Shaq Thompson has already been out. Starting linebacker Frankie Louvu left last week's game with a hip injury. He's been questionable all week. And their starting corner C.J. Henderson also left Sunday's game with an ankle injury. So I think the 0-3 Vikings are just going to feast in this game. Cousins leads the league in pass yards this season already. I don't see how he doesn't get 300 plus pass yards in this game. So his line's 276.5. At least that's what it was. Minus 115 on DK. You look at his first 3 games. He had 344 against Tampa Bay, 369 against Philly, and 367 against the Chargers. And if you look just last week, Geno Smith put up just under 300 yards against Carolina. I think Kirk Cousins is just going to be bombing away.
Yeah. Geno put up 296. Derek Carr, who's really not nearly the quarterback. Cousins is 228. Yeah, I think that's a great play. It has gone up to 279.5 on FanDuel, and DraftKings as high as 282. So wow, that line is that's an extra moving. 6 yards since earlier today. So yeah, I think that's a great play, and it might be his last game for the Vikings. He might be playing for your Jets soon. So I think.
Hey man, we just signed Trevor Siemian. All right.
Trevor Siemian. Yeah, if that's your solution, then good luck. Wow. I can't wait till we talk about the Chiefs at the Jets.
Yeah, we didn't even mention this yet. We got our 2 teams playing each other this week, so we'll finish up the pod with that one. We'll save that one for last.
Lots of Trevor Siemian props coming up.
Yeah.
All right, cool. What else in this game?
All right, we got to go back to Justin Jefferson. If Cousins is eating, Jefferson's eating. Over 100.5 receiving yards, minus 125 on DK is what I have. Just look at his first 3 games: 150 against Tampa Bay, 159 against Philly, 149 against the Chargers, and DK Metcalf just put up 112 on them last week, getting passes from Geno Smith. I mean, this is like, we talked about this yesterday. Sometimes you just don't overthink things and just go for it. These 2 would be a lovely parlay together.
Look at this though. I was trying to prove a point in my head. Jefferson first quarter, I remember like looking at him in the last 2 weeks, and it kind of starts off slow, right?
Yeah, look at
obviously
that.
First week he had 38 receiving yards, so that was not a good example. But against Philly he had 16 yards, and against the Chargers he had 0. So we were looking at that play, I remember, at the end of the first quarter, wondering if he was going to come back. But then second quarter he put up 80 yards against the Chargers. Third quarter kind of quiet, and then fourth quarter he also went nuts. So it looks like that might be a live opportunity as well. I think 100 yards is great for him anyway, as it is. But maybe at the end of the first quarter you can get that for like 85, 90, something like that.
Good point. Right? Yeah.
What else do you like here?
One other, we'll go to one other receiver just because I feel like this game's going to be a feast. Tight ends have been pretty good against Carolina. 8th in yards per reception, 6th in yards after catch, 11th in yards before catch. So let's go to Hockenson here. It was it's up to 50 now. I bet it at 47.5. It was minus
48.5 you can get.
You can still get 48. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I had at 47. I still like it there. He has a nice upward trend in his snap percentage. So week 1, he was at 75, week 2, 86, week 3, 89%.
Wow.
He's done this in 6 of his last 10 overall, 3 of 5, 5 of 7 on the road. And his averages in these are like 61, 64, 53, like just blowing it away. And then you had decent production. Noah Fant put up 41 on them. Colby Parkinson put up 38. Kyle Pitts 44. So I understand that's under Hockenson's, but Hockenson is a bigger part of the offense than those 3 guys are. And if they got close to this number, I think Hockenson can blow it away.
Yeah, I mean, look at those targets too: 9, 8, and 11.
Yeah.
So and he really catches almost everything that's thrown to him. 8 of 9, 7 of 8, and 8 of 11.
Amazing.
So it's just about targets for him. If he gets probably 6, 7 targets, he's clearing this. I love that play. That's my favorite play. Writing it down, locking it in right after this
ding,
one.
Ding, ding. We got a winner. All right.
Okay. What else?
Let's do one on the Carolina side here because you do have a nice mismatch in terms of fading the Carolina run game, because Carolina's offensive line is dead last in run block win percentage, and Minnesota run stop win percentage is league average. So you have a nice mismatch here. I think we can fade Miles Sanders under 57.5 rush yards. Look at his 3 games this season. Got off to a good game in game 1. But look at his rush attempts, just steadily declining from 18 to 14 to 9. And Carolina's not going to be looking to run or just hand the ball off here, Let's go down to his carries and bring him to 14 or fewer carries.
What, this year and last year?
Yeah, this year and last year. And just slide his carries down to 14 and under.
No, let's go to rush.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, sorry. Rushing yards, attempts.
Yeah.
14 and under.
Yeah. This is 25%. His last one of 10 games.
Right.
This is I don't see him. He had 18 week 1, 14 week 2, 9 week 3. I think this is also a very, very nice play.
I like that. I like it even more because he was a potential keeper for me in my fantasy league, and I decided to not go with him. I'm not going to actually tell you who I took as instead because he was pretty bad too. But anyway, enough with this game.
Yes, let's move on.
That 4.5 point spread though is looking pretty tasty. I could see the
Vikings. The Vikings are just, I don't know. I can't bet on that. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Kirk Cousins has some weird stats on grass, like real turf anyway. I don't know. It just, I don't know. The Vikings always do silly things. And I hear you. Right. I was drawn to it as well, but I don't know. It's Kirk Cousins and the Vikings scare me off.
Well, you better get used to him. All right, we got next one. Let's look at Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Bucks are 2-2, Saints are 2-2. I would say both of these teams are probably outperforming their capabilities so far. Saints are -3 at home, totals 40 points. What do you like?
All right, we can look at both run games on both sides, but on opposite ends, we can look to fade Tampa Bay's run game, and we can look at some overs on New Orleans' run game, which is interesting because they have their superstar running back coming back. But
Kamara's back, right?
Yep. So finished serving his suspension, so I'll get to him in 1 second here. But let's go to the Tampa Bay side first. This is a guy we crushed on him on Monday Night Football. With his receiving yards. We also cashed on fading on his rush yards, and I'm going right back to that. Under 53.5 rush yards for Rachaad White. New Orleans, 3rd fewest yards after contact, 2nd fewest broken tackles. Running backs have only had 1 broken tackle against New Orleans defense this entire season, and they haven't given up a single rush of 20-plus yards on the whole season so far. He's only gone over in 4 of 21 and one of his last 8 games. And if you even take out, early games from last season when he had like less than 8 carries, he still went under. He's only gone over this in 4 of 12, 3 of 10, and 1 of 5 in a great fade spot. I think we can fade Mr. White again.
Yeah. I mean, Derrick Henry had the most yards against the Saints so far this season with 63 yards. That's like equivalent to Rachaad White putting up like 15 yards.
Yes.
So I love that. That's a great play. Okay.
All right. You want to talk about the other running back?
Kamara?
Yeah. All right. Here you go.
You think he's ready to play, or is he going to ease back into this?
Look at those last 4 games right there. He's ready. He wasn't hurt. He was just serving a suspension. He's ready to. He's ready. And yes, I know all the things about. He's older now. His yards per carry, his yards before contact, everything's trending down, as it happens with every player as they, advance, get to the advanced stage of whatever he is, 27 years old.
Geriatric age of 27. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the logic for this one. So Tampa Bay is tied for dead last with the Miami Dolphins in run stop win rate. Okay. New Orleans is tied for 10th in run block win rate. So very, very nice mismatch here. Tampa Bay has been good historically at keeping Kamara in check, division rivals playing twice this season. So that's one knock against him. But Tampa Bay is 5th in yards per rush attempt, 9th in average long rush. And just look at what they did against Philly last week. Swift ran for 130 yards. Kenneth Gainwell ran for 43 yards. We just need Kamara to get 53.5. I have it at minus 115 on DK. He crushed that line in the last 4 games of last season. If you look at his home splits, are very nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Let's do it. Come on.
Let's do it.
Let's not be scared of Kamara.
Yeah, and you can get it for 51.5 on FanDuel. I don't think it matters. I think he's going to probably put up a 70-yard game, but
feels like that.
But that's nice. I love that play.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, one more on the New Orleans side. So the Tampa Bay, when we look at our model here, Tampa Bay against opposing wide receivers is just like red lights flashing here. They're 3rd in yards per reception at 15.3, 3rd in yards before catch, 8th in yards after catch, 2nd in catches of 20-plus yards, 3rd in catches of 30-plus yards, and 2nd in average long reception. So let's go to the guy who's just goes down the field and gets these long balls, Rashid Shaheed.
Oh, that's my guy from last week.
I know it's your guy. I thought you'd like this one. So actually, I think you could go either way on him if you like his over 35.5 receiving yards. He also very nice upward snap count trend. So he started week 1 at 54%, 49% in week 2, 72% of the offensive snaps he played in week 3. He's done this in his last 9 of 13, 7 of 10, and he's averaging 53.7 in his last 10 games. And he just played Tampa Bay last December and had 75 yards against Tampa Bay last December.
Yeah, he really didn't get a lot of targets against Green Bay, but the Green Bay's secondary. Was pretty good. Not so much last night, but was pretty good the prior week.
Yeah.
So you also like his longest reception? Is that
longest,
something?
Yeah, 18.5 is up to 19. I had it 18.5 here. That game against Tampa last December, he had a 40-yard reception. He's gone over this in 2 of 3 games this season and had 41 as his long in week 1, 45 as his long in week 2, and then that Green Bay game just wasn't his game, but I think he gets there again.
Yeah, he's pretty explosive, this guy. So
yeah,
I love that. All right, cool. All right. Moving on.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Washington at Philly. The Eagles are -9 at home. Total is 43. Washington is 2-1 on the season. The Eagles are 3-0. So pretty big spread for division game, especially one in which both teams have winning records.
Yeah.
What do you like here?
So the win rate stuff with the line play puts us on overs for both Philly on the Philly passing side and Philly running side.
Okay.
So in terms of passing, we can look at some QB stats. Washington is number 2 in average pocket time allowed, 2.6 seconds, 6th in air yards per attempt. And then this is where it gets really good for explosiveness. They're 28th in passes of 10+ yards, right? 9th in passes of 20+ yards, 3rd in passes of 30+, 3rd in passes of 40+, and 1st in passes of 50+ yards, completions of 50+ yards. So, as you get further down the field, they are just bombing away against Washington here. And then you look at the wide receivers against Washington. Washington is 2nd in yards per reception, yards before catch, and catches of 30+ yards. Okay. Philly's week 3 opponent, Tampa Bay, is number 3 in all those same categories. So they're like getting the identical defense, on paper in terms of these stats that we look at as they just played and dominated, right? So Hurts, I like his over 230.5 passing yards. He had 277 in that game against Tampa Bay last week. I think that is like you can't get a better comp here. So I think this is a great spot for him.
Yeah, not bad, especially with that deep ball threat. He's got at least 2, maybe 3 receivers, maybe 4 receivers that can all go down the field. So I think he could get 40, 50 of these yards in one play. So yeah, pretty nice.
Yeah, that's my other. I do like to sprinkle on his or incorporate this somehow. His long pass at 36.5. I think it's really good, especially if you go to his home splits. Last 7 of 9 at home, averaging 42 yards on his longest pass. So, and he's got, like you just said, plenty of guys: AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, all these guys, which are probably all good. The overs on those guys, if you have somebody you like, from the Philly receiving core, all great plays. But then the matchup we really liked here in terms of the run game was that Philly has the number one run block win rate at 78%. Washington has the 26th worst run stop win rate at 28%. Washington also, of note, has the 5th most broken tackles by opposing running backs. So DeAndre Swift, over 63.5 rush yards, minus 125 on DK. He just ran for 130 on Tampa Bay, whose run stop win rate is their 31st. Washington's 26th. So also very good comp, right? And his last two games, 130 and 175 yards. Nice upward snap count trend too. 29% in week 1, 75%, 54%. So trending upwards nicely. Let's go to Swift.
Yeah, I think there was some debate prior to the season whether or not Swift would be the number one back, but I think he's after that game last week, I think he really solidified that one.
Yes, I would say so.
Really, I guess the last 2 weeks, right? He's just crushed it, 300 rushing yards, and his ability to like break tackles and just get an extra 5-6 yards on a carry is just amazing. So I love that. I have no idea why this line is so low.
I don't know either.
I'd probably take this and also ladder him up all the way up to 100 yards.
Sounds good to me.
I know you like the ladders.
I love a ladder.
Okay. Anybody else in this one?
No. Let's keep it moving.
Just no love for the Commanders. You got your cash on Sam Howell week 2, I think it was, and then
week 1 or week 2.
Week 2.
I was one of those. No, I guess it had to have been week 2. Yes.
Yeah. and then we just move on and never touch that one again.
That's it.
Okay. All right. My favorite game of the day will be the Dolphins 3-0 at the Bills 2-1. Bills are minus 2.5 at home total. Wait for it. 53.5 points. I love that. Any game with the Dolphins is like 50 to 60 points now because of last week. So
they can. I don't think they can set this line high enough. I feel like I do. If you want to be sharp about things, 54 is a nice number, and if you see that at 54, it's very sharp to take the under in a game with 54 point total. So just putting that out there. But I'd rather just kind of enjoy this game. But
right.
But I do. I do have a couple props here. So. Line play, win percentage wise, we can look to target overs in Buffalo's run game. Miami, I mentioned this earlier, their defensive line is dead last in run stop win rate at only 26%. On the other hand, Buffalo's run block win rate is 7th best at 73%. So I think James Cook's in a nice spot here to go over 56.5 rush yards. He consistently plays 60% of the snaps every single week. And he's just, look at him, he's been cooking over the last 2 games. 98 yards against Washington, who's very similar to Miami. Washington has the 4th worst run stop win rate. Miami has the number 1 worst run stop win rate. And then 123 yards against the Raiders, who have the 8th worst win rate. So, good comps here, and he just crushed against them. I also like this because if you look at his splits against Miami, he's 0 for his last 3 against Miami. So I think people will stay away from this if they see that. If they're just betting trends, and maybe get some value here,
Well, look at his rush attempts. He only had
I know. I'm just
decent rush attempts, and so far this season, he's 17 and 15 rush attempts the last 2 games. So I even like the rush attempts on him as well. I think first of all, I like that you said James Cook is going to be cooking.
Thank you.
Thought that was cool.
That was intentional.
Okay, that was intentional. All right. Second of all, I think part of Buffalo's strategy to win this game is actually take the ball out of Tua's hands. Right. I think that's got to be part of the strategy. So eating some clock and giving Cook the ball a lot, I think is going to be part of it. So
yeah. All right, and then this mismatch in terms of the rush game was too good for me to pass up, so I had to go to Josh Allen over 35.5 rush yards as well in a big division game. He's cleared this in his last 2 of 3 against Miami. And if you look at the last 2 quarterbacks to play them, Mac Jones ran for 25 yards against Miami. Right, he only had 13 and 15 rush yards in the other 2 games he played this season. Justin Herbert ran for 18 yards against Miami. He had 0 and 11 in his other 2 games he played this season. So the quarterbacks can run against Miami. We've seen it the last 2 weeks, since the season started. So I think this is also a very nice play in a divisional game at home.
Yeah, I kind of just have this feeling that this is going to be like one of those epic games where it just comes down to like a last drive, and
that'd be great.
Josh Allen is going to put up 2 big runs during that final drive or something. So
yes,
I like that.
All right. And then speaking of Josh Allen, I want to take his passing yards here. Buffalo's offensive line is tied for 7th best pass block win rate. Miami allows the 7th most pass attempts to opposing QBs at almost 38 per game. They also allow the 9th longest pocket time. 10th most passes of 10 plus yards, 5th most passes of 30 plus yards. And like you said, with a 53.5 point total in this game, this is by far the best offense that Buffalo has seen, right? Buffalo played the Jets, the Raiders, and the Commanders, right? And now you got Miami coming back to Buffalo to avenge their playoff loss from the wild card round last season, right? So what's Josh Allen going to be doing? He's just going to be bombing away. He had 39 attempts in that playoff game for 352 yards, okay? His line's 268.5, minus 114 on FanDuel. Has it gone up, down? Has it moved?
No, you can get it there still.
Okay. Look at his last 3 games against Miami. 352, 304, and 400 yards.
Oh my God.
When he has 37 plus pass attempts in a game, he's cleared this in 7 of his last 10, averaging 306 yards per game. Come on, let's do it. Who doesn't want to root for overs in this game? Come on.
I would love to see 2 quarterbacks throw 400 yards each.
Oh man, that'd be so cool.
All right. Anything on the Dolphins side?
No, staying away. I just like these Buffalo plays. But this high octane offense. I don't know what to read. What's scaring me off a bit is Buffalo's competition has not been good yet, right? Like I mentioned, Jets, Raiders, Commanders. So I'm a little wait and see on this Buffalo defense. I want to see how this Buffalo defense performs against a serious offense here.
Yeah, and they're home too, so I think that makes a big difference, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We got the Ravens at the Browns. Ravens are 2-1 on the season. Browns are also 2-1 on the season. Browns are minus 1.5, and totals 39. I'm willing to make the statement that the Browns have the best defense in the league.
I don't think you're going out on a limb on that one.
Well, there's some that might argue the Eagles do. There's some that but I like the Browns D here, and that's reflected in the 39-point total.
Yeah. So we don't give out many game plays here. This show is called Prop the Mic, but I love the Browns so much in this game that I have to give this out. Especially this line is actually it's at minus 1.5 now. It was at minus 2.5 earlier. You got the Browns at home to the Ravens, division rival, the team that left Cleveland, right? And the defense is just insane. They literally pop up at number 1 in almost every advanced metric that I look at when I'm doing my research here. Watson, one thing of concern, Deshaun Watson was limited in practice this week with shoulder soreness, but right. I think he'll be ready to play. And I thought last week he was looking much, much better and more comfortable in the offense. His completion percentage was up. He was 4th in yards per attempt last week. He was 1st in air yards per attempt last weekend. And his offensive line gave him the 2nd longest pocket time of any offensive line last week. And then added on top of this, Baltimore is dealing with a ton of injuries. Beckham's out. Bateman's out. Cornerback Marlon Humphrey's out. They're without 2 starting linebackers. Ronnie Staley, their left tackle, and their center, Tyler Lindenbaum, both dealing with injuries. We're limited in practice all week. I think if this game happened next week, you'd see Cleveland minus 5.5, something like that. I think there's tremendous value here. Yeah,
I only have a problem with one of your statements, and that was the history behind the Browns moving to Baltimore. Because I think that happened in 1996. So there's really not a single player playing in this game who was even alive when that happened.
All right, we could cross that point.
So cross that part out. It means a lot to the fans, the 40, 50-year-old fans, but not to the players. But anyway, everything else you said, I'm good with.
All right, thanks.
All right, cool. So what do you like?
You got to fact check.
Fact check.
Yeah. Okay. I got one other this normal prop play for this game. Cleveland has the 2nd worst QB rating against, the shortest pocket time so far this season, 5th fewest quarterback pass attempts, fewest yards per attempt, fewest air yards per attempt, fewest passes of 10 plus yards, fewest red zone attempts, only 2. Next, this is crazy. The next in line after that is Dallas and New England at 6. So this is even just a huge gap between all these stats. So I think we can fade Lamar Jackson. I went through all this stuff. His offensive line is in shambles. Under 200.5 passing yards. What is it now? Did it move?
It's already down 192 at FanDuel.
Wow. I bet
190 at DraftKings.
200 when I bet it last night. So I don't know. It gets a little hairy when you're getting down to 192. We lost on a bet. Was it last weekend or 2 weeks ago? I think we had him at 218. Yeah. He finished at 230 something. He does have nice road splits. last 6 of 7 on the road. He's cleared this, but this is not the game for him. Kenny Pickett is the only quarterback to have 200 plus passing yards against Cleveland. He had 222, but that was his lowest output of the season. He had 232 and 235 in his other 2 games. So I think this is just not the spot for Lamar and battling some injuries on the offense there.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe another approach would be to fade his longest, 34 and a half or 33 and a half.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look at that. Like, that actually has a better hit rate than the total yards.
Yeah, that's a nice pivot. Yeah.
It's a pivot. It's a scary pivot because even, you could be riding that and then it cashes with 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could be fun.
But
too.
no Beckham, no Bateman, so he doesn't have a lot of offensive weapons to get to to stretch the field that way. So I think that could be very nice as well. Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right.
Anything else on this one?
No, let's go to my favorite game of the day. Come on.
Are you really going to look me in the eyes and say this is your favorite game of the day?
Come on, what are my favorite games in NBA? It was like Rockets Magic. Those kind of games. I love those. I love those two awful defensive teams. Yeah.
Usually involve the Hornets.
Hornets, Rockets. Those are good ones too. Yeah.
Spurs. Yeah. You always love the Spurs.
I do. Devin Vassell. Right. Can't wait to bet some Devin Vassell.
All right, get back to NFL.
Okay.
We got Broncos at the Bears. Bears minus 3.5. Totals 46. Both of these teams are winless. 0-3 on the season. What are we doing even talking about this game? You better deliver something amazing here.
You ready? I am.
Yes.
All right. Denver. So first of all, you have great matchups in terms of overs for the Chicago passing game and Chicago run game. I mean, Denver's defense is just god awful. They have the number 1 QB rating against, number 2 pass yards per attempt, number 4 air yards per attempt. I have a whole bunch here. 4th in sacks. They've only had 4 QB knockdowns. They've only had 4 QB hurries the whole season. Like they can't put any pressure on the quarterback. So let's go Justin Fields over 185.5 pass yards. Has this moved?
187. No, FanDuel's got it 185.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it was. So it hasn't moved there. Look at these. Look at the quarterbacks against Denver. Tua had 309. He had 249 against New England. Sam Howell, 299. He had 202 and 173 in his other games. And Jimmy G had 200 yards against Denver. I think this is a get right spot. Guy's much maligned player here, Justin Fields lately. I think this is a bit of a get right spot for him. So.
Yeah. I mean, if Sam Howell put up 300 yards, I think that's a great play for Fields to get 200. And it's apparent. It's so apparent that they are telling him not to run the ball. Like watching that first half of the Chiefs game last week.
The first half.
The first half. Second half, they were just like,
whatever.
Let's do whatever we can to end this game as soon as possible. So don't have an incompletion. But the first half, he had open runs and he's just throwing the ball. So hopefully that leads to some yards. I like it.
Yeah.
He's got a good receiving core. So there's no reason why he shouldn't put up 200 yards every game.
Yeah. Speaking of that receiving core, I like DJ Moore receiving yards here as well. So Denver and Tampa Bay are great comps, and Chicago played Tampa Bay in week 2. Denver's 4th in yards per reception. Tampa Bay's 3rd. Denver's 5th in yards before catch. Tampa Bay's 3rd. Denver's 3rd in yards after catch. Tampa Bay's 8th. Average long is also the same. So let's go over. He had 104 yards in that game against Tampa Bay, and now he gets an even better matchup, I would say, against Denver. And if you look, he only had 25 against Green Bay and 41 against KC. Those are 2 good defenses. When he played the bad defense in Tampa Bay, 104. He had 52 against Denver at the end of November last year. He played 100% of the offensive snaps last week after playing 91 and 92 in weeks 1 and 2. And what I like even better is that obviously he's played every single offensive snap, but Cole Kmet and Mooney both have downward trends on their snap percentages. So I like this. He's just becoming a bigger and bigger part of the offense every week, in a great spot for him.
Yeah, it looked like he had 103 yards against Denver last year.
Oh, maybe I had a filter on or something. I don't know where I don't know. I have 52 written down here, but even better.
Yeah, even better. That's awesome. So yeah, I think he's great. Who else? What about Mooney? Wow. What is he doing?
Yeah, I don't know. A big downward trend in his snap percentage, snap count percentage. So I don't know what's going on. So
he's
that's why I'm staying.
He's had 1 target in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Claypool's gotten some good activity. So he's probably another sneaky receiver to go after as well in this one.
I got a sneakier one though.
Okay, who do you like?
This is the guy we played before, Khalil Herbert, over 8.5 receiving yards. Got it there? Yeah. Denver's 4th in yards per attempt to running backs, 4th in yards before catch to running backs, 4th in yards after catch. They're number 1 in. Also, I'm just talking. Also, I have 2 plays on Herbert, so they're also terrible against the run as well. They're number 1 in every single explosive run category. So 10 plus, 20 plus, 30 plus, 40 plus. They are number 1 in every single one. They're number 1. This is great. They're number 1 in receptions to running backs at 22. You know how many targets they've had to running backs? 24. They're 4th in targets, but 1st in receptions. Crazy. So
yeah, I mean, look at that. You got Josh Jacobs, 23. Antonio Gibson, 44 yards.
Brian Robinson.
Brian Robinson had 42 yards on a line of 7.5. So that's pretty comparable to what we're talking about here. Mostert, his line was 11.5. He got 60.
60.
I think we might need to. We're definitely going to play this one, but we might also need to put this like as high of a max as they'll allow us, like 20, 30 yards, because this seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. So we like that. We played that before. I also think his rush yards are good. It's at 40.5, right? We played this in week 1 when it was 61.5. In week 2, it went down to 53.5. In week 3, it went down to 44.5. Now it's at 40.5. Oh, sorry, week 3, 44.5. Now it's at 40.5. So he hasn't cleared this at all this season. I think there's tremendous value against Denver for him to get 40 rush yards. I mean, this is like screaming value to me.
Yeah, Rashawn Johnson got more attempts last game, but I think that's just the nature of a blowout, right? So
yeah,
Herbert's attempts are nothing, 9, 7, 7, but I think that's just all function of the games that they've been in and not competitive games. So this game, they're actually favored, right? So if that plays out, they could easily be feeding him the ball in the second half. So I like that.
All right, one other. It's still with the rushing game. We got to take Fields over 58.5 rush yards. He's only gotten there once this season, and he also just cleared it at 59. But he's going to have a few. Look at it. Yeah, he's going to have a few games with 80 and 100 rushing yards this season, right? I mean, that's just who he is. If this is one of them. If he can't do it against Denver, he's got big problems, right? It seemed like you kind of touched on this earlier on the second half of the game against Kansas City. I don't know. It was a blowout, but it seemed like they started to go to some design run plays for him or something in garbage. It was garbage time. So we can only read so much into it. But Kansas City has a very good defense and he was able to do some stuff. So I think that's the only way they are successful is if he's running the ball. So I think this is a great spot for him.
You know what happened at halftime of that game?
What?
The Bears management and their coaches went from implementing a strategy to try to win this year to a strategy to try to save their jobs. Because they were just like, we got a running quarterback and we're not letting him run. Okay, that's not going to work. We'll all be fired. So let's let him start to run so that we actually are employed week 4.
Yes.
So, I could see that. He's a bit of a hot mess, but he's due to break out.
I mean, look how many big green lines he has there. He's going to have a few of those this season, right? Like he's got to, I mean, if not against Denver, then when, right?
Right.
So I also have one other, I gave out, I know that I had the non-prop for the Cleveland game. I was all over the game total for this. I bet it at 42.5 last night. It's been bet up to 46.5 overnight. I just thought 42.5 with 2 terrible defenses going head to head at 42.5. I thought they were going to blow this away. I loved it at 42.5, and obviously a lot of other people did too because it went up 4 points overnight. So unfortunately, not as strong of a play now. But just wanted to call. I was so excited to give that one out.
That's I mean, really, this we're doing the show on Friday to try to capture more value than you'd get on Saturday or Sunday. But really, if you want to get the sharpest lines, looking at this stuff on Wednesday or Thursday is probably your best bet.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that was the morning, not the morning because there is a 9 a.m., 9 or 9:30 a.m. game that we skipped over because those London games are just brutal. Yeah. But those are the 1 p.m. games. Let's move on to a 4 p.m. game.
Yeah.
We got the Cardinals at the 49ers, so potentially one of the worst teams in the league, although they looked amazing against Dallas last week.
They've been in every game they've played so far. I don't know.
That's true. Going up against potentially one of the best teams in the league. So, so Cardinals are 1-2, like you said. They've been in all the games, but they've only won 1. And the Niners are 3-0. Niners are minus 14 points at home. Total is 43.5. Just think about those 2 things right there. Right, relatively low total, 43.5, and a 14-point spread. You don't see that very often. So, the implication is the Cardinals are not scoring in this game. So hopefully you got some unders on the Cardinals.
I stayed away from the Cardinals. I don't know, after what you saw against Dallas last week, who arguably was up there with a handful of Cleveland, San Francisco, Kansas City, and Dallas. I think are like the 4 best defenses out there. So I don't have anything on Arizona. I just have there's nice overs for the San Francisco passing game based on line play. So Arizona has the 9th longest average pocket time against. They're tied for 2nd with 36 passes of 10 plus yards. They have the fewest QB knockdowns at only 3 and the most red zone attempts at 22 red zone attempts. So I like 2 plays on Brock Purdy here, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It was minus 125 on DK. Look at his home splits. Yeah. He's done this in 9 of 11 games since he became a starter and has played a full game. You have to tweak the filters a little bit to get there, but it's 9 of 11. So I think has that line moved at all? Are we still the same?
Minus 110.
Oh, even better. Okay. And then I like his passing yards. I've had a 225.5, minus 115 on DK. In his only other home game this season, he crushed the Giants for 310 yards, and Arizona is worse than the Giants in terms of the passing defense. Arizona only beat Dallas, I think, because Dallas allowed James Conner to get 7 yards per carry. San Francisco is only averaging 3.3 yards per carry. So I think all that being said is I don't think Arizona is so great. They got their win. They beat Dallas, but I think we can safely go to San Francisco here and play the over on Purdy's passing yards.
Yeah, Daniel Jones had 321 passing yards. That's all you have to say.
Yeah. Oh, 321. I had 310. But okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's all you got to say. Yeah, I like that play a lot. You can also look at that. I mean, FanDuel is definitely sleeping, like you said at the start of the show. DraftKings has us at 230.5. What did you say? 220?
225.5.
225, but FanDuel you can get it still for 222.5. So
wow.
So go grab it on FanDuel before that moves up to 230.
Yeah. That's all I have for this game.
Oh, no McCaffrey, huh?
No.
What's his story this week? He's got 80.5 rushing yards. Whew, that's a big number.
Our model actually spits out that we should play unders in the San Francisco run game, which I'm not going to do. But it's also not like putting me onto a play for McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean Tony Pollard at 122.
Yeah, I know.
rushing yards.
I know.
Yeah, let's not do that. All right, and then save the best for last. Sunday night football.
Best or the worst.
My team versus your team. Chiefs 2-1 in New York. Going up against the Jets, who are 1-2, had that fantastic first game of the season win. Aaron Rodgers running out of the tunnel with the American flag in his hand, only to tear his Achilles moments later. And then the season has just been what we kind of expected after week 1. So the Jets get 9 points at home. I think everybody is put their mortgage on this game after watching the Chiefs just beat up the Bears last week. I will say the Jets are a much better team than the Bears. Yeah, because of their defensive capabilities. So don't expect no, I'm not going to say don't expect the Chiefs to win by 20 because they easily could win by 20, but this could be more competitive than that Bears game.
Yes.
Total is 41.5. What do you like here?
All right, our model tells us overs in the Kansas City rush game. So I was looking at Pacheco, Jets, but what I did like is Jets against running backs. Pass catching running backs is a really nice matchup. So I kind of pivoted off the KC rush game and went with KC's running back because the Jets are 4th in targets to opposing running backs and 6th in receptions to opposing running backs. His line is 11.5 receiving yards, minus 115 on DK. Nice targets in his first 3 games for a running back, 3, 2, and 4 on receptions of 2, 1, and 4. And if you put his filter to when he has 2 plus targets, he's cleared this in 7 of his last 8 games, averaging 25.1 receiving yards when he just gets 2 targets. And seeing as though all the targets, Jets are 4th in targets to opposing running backs, I think he gets at least 2 in this game.
Yeah, I love that.
I thought
I really love that. He might be one of your favorite plays of the season so far.
Yeah, he is. He's quickly becoming that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What else? You said. Hold on. I'm gonna interject here.
Yeah.
You're doing such a good job, but I don't want you to breeze over. You said rushing.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about Mahomes at 17.5 rushing yards? Actually, you can get it 16.5 on FanDuel. Why would you not play this?
It is one of our favorite plays of all time.
All-time
dating
play.
dating back years past, the years before PTM. This was one of our favorite plays when it used to be at 12 and 14. Yeah, this is probably good. The only thing I'd say is that did he get there last week against Chicago? He did, right?
He did.
He did, right? Yeah. The only thing I say, I feel like he gets there more when it's like a big game, a high pressure, high leverage game. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. If he'll need to scramble for. But yeah, this Jets defense is pretty good, and maybe they'll make him do that. I don't know. You're Mr. Chief, so you tell me.
Yeah, I like the Jets secondary, and I think the Chiefs receivers are really not that good. Obviously Kelsey is Kelsey is not only the best tight end in the league, he's probably a top 5 receiver in the league. So, so I think he is obviously really special, and he is going to give them some problems. But after that, I could see the Jets defense, giving the Chiefs wide receivers some trouble, and I think that'll lead to Mahomes having to scramble from time to time. I think this is a no-brainer. I think this is the last week that you're going to get this, this rushing at this low of a value. So take it, 16.5 rushing yards. Go for it.
Sounds good. One of our favorites, like we said.
All right. What else you got?
You ready for it? So let's look
Zach
at quarterback.
Wilson. Zach Wilson, you're going over 300 passing yards.
How'd you know?
What do you got?
Let's go through all the. I mean, Casey's very good defensively. 6th lowest quarterback rating, 9th shortest pocket time, 13th fewest attempts, 5th fewest yards per attempt, 5th fewest air yards per attempt, 3rd fewest passes of 10 plus yards, 6th most quarterback hurries. This is not good for Zach. I think this all spells disaster for Zach Wilson. I think, like I said, Kansas City's defense is really good. I made a little note here that I think after the injuries to Dallas, I actually would put them 3rd behind Cleveland and San Francisco. They held Detroit's offense, who we saw put up, I don't know how many points against Green Bay last night. They held Detroit's offense to 14 points. They held Jacksonville's offense to 9 points, and they shut out Chicago, not including the 10 garbage time points that they put up. I think Zach Wilson is going to be looking for every excuse for the Jets to start Trevor Siemian next week. I think this is the last week we're ever going to have in our lives to be able to fade Zach Wilson. So let's eat while we can. Zach Wilson under 175.5 pass yards, minus 114.5 on FanDuel. This is a no-brainer.
Yeah, you can get it at BetMGM at 175.5, Caesars 172.5, DraftKings same, and FanDuel has come all the way down to 170.5.
Wow.
So the public is with you. That's coming down.
Yeah. This is
this could be Zach Wilson's last game as a Jet. To be honest with you,
this will be his last game in the NFL. He'll be playing Canadian football or XFL, whatever they call the XFL now, whatever it is. This is it for him.
This is probably it. This could be ugly. Yeah. All right, cool. I like that. Is Siemian even available to play this week? Do you know?
That I don't know. I mean, they just signed him, two days ago, right? Or what was it? Monday? I don't know.
Is he like one of those stories where he was like sitting at home watching, drinking beer on the couch, and then they called him up and was like,
"That would be great,
Trev, we need you. We need you. You're starting the second half against the Chiefs."
I know Carson Wentz reached out and they said no, thank you, and somebody else too, I think. But
yeah. There's lots of Matt Ryan, I think, also Kaepernick. There's lots of people who want to play for the Jets. But yeah, okay, all right. So Wilson puts up maybe 100 yards and in this game, and Trevor Siemian finishes it out.
That could be. Can we bet that?
Could we bet? I'm sure we could find a book that'll take that. All right. What else? Anything else?
Not on these games. No.
Yeah, I think that's good for today. Thank you for covering while I was digging the water out of my basement. Fantastic job. Love these picks. I love them. I already have like 3 or 4 of them circled. I'm going to go lock them in as soon as we get off this pod.
All right.
And we'll get them up on X as well shortly, right?
Yep, we will. We have a couple other games that we didn't want to get to just because of time. So we're going to get these out. We're going to make some money this weekend, and let's all enjoy the games.